Welcome to Retirement Navigator, the podcast for adults 55 and above who are ready to make their next chapter their best one. I am your host, Kwame Kwade, co-founder of Next Chapter Media and adjunct professor of finance at Johns Hopkins University, Carey Business School. Joining me today is Gina Negri. Gina is a clinician and trained nurse practitioner specializing in elder care with more than 3 decades of experience supporting older adults across the continuum of care. Her career spans bedside nursing, nurse practitioner practice, leadership in long-term care, quality management, and home care operations, giving her a uniquely broad perspective on aging and caregiving. Today, she advises and advocates for families navigating the complexities of dementia care, aging in place, and long-term care decisions. Gina is passionate about helping families prepare, ask the right questions, and make informed choices before a crisis happens. We are excited to have her today to share her insight on caregiving, memory care, and what families need to know as they plan for the road ahead. Gina, welcome to the Retirement Navigator podcast. I am really excited to have you here today.
Hi, Kwame. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thanks for having me.
So, out of the gate, you and I know each other from our membership of the Entrepreneurs Organization, and it's been a while since I have seen you. So, I know that you are a clinician, a nurse practitioner, and your journey has taken you in many directions. And now you are where you are now. So can you walk us through, what made you land where you are with being a patient advocate right now?
Wow. Well, I've had a really interesting foray into healthcare. I like to say that I started in healthcare since I was about 14, 16 years old, if you would believe that. Mm-hmm. When everyone was babysitting children, I was sitting older adults. And that's how I actually entered into healthcare. Interestingly enough, when I went to college, I graduated with a sociology degree. I studied demographics and entered healthcare as a hospital administrator. However, it was the time when they were changing from a per diem way of paying care to a more managed care. Mm-hmm. And it appeared that the nurses were more knowledgeable. And as an administrator, I felt lacking by not having the knowledge that the nurses had. And I enrolled into nursing school. So, wow. Yes. So nursing is my second baccalaureate degree. And I tell you, it was a calling because being at the bedside made me feel I touched people. Mm-hmm. And that's really what is. And I abandoned administration for a while because I enjoy being a bedside nurse so much. I worked in oncology. As high as bone marrow transplantation, which is the borderline of life and death sometimes for some patients. Then I went on, I became a nurse practitioner, being in the community, working in primary care, which I also enjoyed very much. I worked in long-term care. Mm-hmm. One, to keep patients from having to be hospitalized. So if you had a little problem, a pneumonia or a UTI, we would keep them in a nursing home and cared for them that way. But when some of my patients were discharged, they would return. And the problem was when they got home, families were not prepared. So that gave me some thought. So being in oncology was an issue, seeing people dying and not being able to be with their loved ones. Then as a nurse practitioner, I saw that people were very confused when they got home. I was also director of nursing in a long-term care facility, and same issues. I was in utilization management, quality management, which was in terms of monitoring care, the quality of care that we delivered. And then I went on to become a home care agency owner because I saw what the need was to be in the home. You really had to be in the community to make a difference in people's lives.
Right.
I really enjoyed it. And now with dementia care, which is really, we're almost at an epidemic with such a large amount of people being affected. We're looking at 6 to 7 million worldwide in the next few years. And families are in great need of our services. They really need to understand what the healthcare continuum is all about. So that's who I am.
Now I want to.
It's a long-winded answer, but that's
no. You actually gave me a lot. I want to touch on your entrepreneurial journey a little bit, because I mean, you and I met because we're both entrepreneurs, and our path crossed then. And you mentioned that you were a home care agency owner. Can you talk a little bit about how that has shaped where you have landed now?
Well, believe it or not, I was a home agency owner for 17 years. It was a long time. Yeah, it was for a long time. The time really moved very quickly.
Right.
Well, because even as an agency owner, I worked with clients who needed my services in terms of care coordination and care management. I would go in, I would teach them about medication. I would make sure the medications from the nursing home or from the hospital when they're discharged, which is something we call reconciliation. I made sure that they were appropriate. I would contact the physicians, talk to physicians, and ask them whether the clients really need a certain medication, or maybe they would do better with another medication. I would teach the family what services and really long-term planning, because some of the families really were the here and now. Let's solve the problem here and now, and I help them through what we call life care planning, for themselves and for their families. So it was just a natural progression for me to be where I am currently.
Okay. And now you have a new focus. Can you tell us about that?
My focus really is right now is in educating, advocating, care coordination, and care management.
Okay. And so to somebody that does not know what that industry is, what does that mean on a day-to-day basis? Who are you working with?
Well, basically, mainly my focus is in dementia.
Okay.
And I work with families who are now faced with caring for someone with dementia.
Right. And you mentioned earlier that dementia is becoming an epidemic. And a lot of people may, think that is something that happens at the end stage of life or at a certain age. What do you think is happening that we are not seeing that is increasing, based on just your knowledge, the rate of dementia going up?
Well, it's really a lot of reasons. So first, let's recap in terms of what is dementia, right? Because dementia doesn't just affect memory; it impacts safety, decision making, relationships, long-term care planning. And families struggle to navigate medical care and making decisions, supporting daily support, and often in a crisis mode. So let's go back in terms of understanding what exactly dementia is.
Right.
So dementia, it's not a single disease per se. It's really a general catch-all term for a decline in brain function, which interferes with daily life. Most people just think of memory loss, but it's really broader than that. It affects judgment. That's where safety becomes an issue. Language, when people are no longer able to express themselves, their behavior. People might see certain behaviors that they think is really strange, because mom and dad or their cousin or their brother or whomever it is different, and they're not sure, not recognizing them, or maybe become really spiteful. Some people even lash out. Personality changes, so it's not the same person. Although then there are some people who are really quiet and into themselves. People who've been quiet or tend to be more quiet. People who tend to be angry tend to be more angry. Yeah.
So my understanding is that there are different types of dementia.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yes, I'll briefly. But also, let me add, beside all of these features that I mentioned before, you also have people have trouble managing finance in dementia, following conversation, or recognizing familiar faces, like I mentioned before.
Right.
So the key distinction is that dementia is not normal sign of aging. It's not normal. It's a level of change that basically disrupt their independence, and there's no cure, so it's progressive. Now, in terms of types of dementia, we have Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is the most prevalent. It ranges between 60 to 80% of dementia, diagnosed dementia. And basically, it starts with memory loss. We also have what we call vascular dementia. And vascular dementia affect those who have reduced blood flow to the brain, right? Especially people who have hypertension, who then develop strokes. There are some people who develop mini strokes, tiny strokes, or bleeding strokes. And that's vascular dementia. That's not reversible. We have another type which is called Lewy body dementia, and that one is a little bit more disturbing because it also includes visual hallucinations.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's sleep disturbances. Sometimes people have their day and nights reversed, which is really disturbing. When they think it's 2:00 in the afternoon, it's actually 2:00 in the morning, and then you have a family member taking care of them who has to go to work. They also have movement issues like rigidity. They have difficulty moving, right? They have a hunch posture. They shuffle walk. They have trouble initiating movement. And sometimes family thinks it's Parkinson's. It's similar to Parkinson's disease, but it's not Parkinson's disease. So they also call it Parkinson's disease dementia.
Right.
Now, there's a couple more. There's frontotemporal dementia, which is also could be caused by traumatic brain injury. Athletes, and this is people who have repetitive hits to their head, right? And sometimes falls cause that as well. And then we have mixed dementia, where this person has different types. They could have Alzheimer's and vascular dementia at the same times.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned that obviously it's not curable, so it's progressive. And so is there a way to predict who will be affected earlier on?
There's no single predictor. Okay. Yeah, but we do know the strongest risk factor is age.
Okay.
Right? And the reason dementia is so prevalent is because we're aging gracefully, right? Now we're expecting people to live 100 plus.
Right.
I've had clients who are 102 who are still wanted to be taken to the casino. Right?
Yeah.
My oldest client was 106 years old.
Wow.
and she lived independently up until she was 104.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
So that's the really single predictor.
Right.
However, here are some other key factors.
Mm-hmm.
Cardiovascular health,
Mm-hmm.
which means high blood pressure,
Mm-hmm.
controlling your pressure, diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
stroke history, or stroke. If you know stroke runs in the family, diabetes runs in the family, hypertension runs in the family. So it's best to really learn how to control and manage it.
Okay. So you're saying that, that's very helpful for my audience. So if you have a family history of, high blood pressure, hypertension, or diabetes, or stroke, then it's like you are paying attention to managing those symptoms or those conditions early, because you're saying that it could then progress into some form of dementia.
Yeah, because poorly managed high blood pressure um, could cause strokes.
Yeah.
And stroke is a leading predictor of vascular dementia.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, genetics. Also, we have certain type of dementia where there's certain genes that are prevalent is a precursor of dementia. And the big one is actually lifestyle factors.
For example.
Yeah, physical inactivity. They predict if you sit at your desk, like now most of us do, with a computer in hand, 12 hours or more a day, that's an issue, right?
Which is what I do.
Right. So the idea is at least maybe every hour or beginning of your day, the end of your day, really take a walk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
And of course, poor diet.
Right. Right.
Poor diet.
Right.
Now, I want to qualify poor diet.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yesterday I was at a conference and we sat at a table and discussed that. Poor diet may mean eating certain foods that are not inherently good for you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best books that I read, it was, and I really forgot the name of the author, but it's really, which was called The Long Life Diet.
Mm.
And basically in it, he really recommend that you eat based on how your great-grandparents, the way your great-grandparents ate. Okay. Simply with genetics, your body is basically programmed to eat and absorb a certain way, right? Because when you look at all over the world, different regions have different diets. And
right.
What affects certain people doesn't affect others, which is really strange, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if you eat differently, especially if you move from one region to another and you start adopting the diet of your new environment, your body may not built for it. Okay. And therefore your body is fighting against what it thinks is foreign object.
Right.
You think it's actually it's poor diet, but not in the sense that most people assume.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Social isolation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Another question. Yeah. Social isolation is found to be another predictor of dementia. And they found that out, especially during the COVID epidemic, right? Where older people were isolated. There was no social interaction with anyone. These people, for some reason, became with more memory disturbances. And of course, what we call social determinants. And social determinants means the quality of food that's available for consumption. Right? Yeah. That's definitely a social determinant. And it's not really geared to any specific group. It's basically geared to people who do not have access to quality food.
Right.
Right. Education is an issue. Access to care. Mm-hmm. And access to care means having access to localities that have maybe more advanced treatment or even physician. Like I said yesterday, I sat at a table at this young lady who mentioned that her family moved a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And because her family moved a lot, they didn't have one group of medical clinicians who followed them throughout life.
Mm-hmm.
So they were starting over.
Right.
Wherever they were. So they didn't have access to care.
Right.
Continuous care. Transportation is an issue of people who live in rural areas. In terms of if they need an advanced examination, they do not have access to it because they are unable to get to that facility.
So
and consistency of care. Yes.
One of the things that you said, which I wanted to mention quickly before I forget, does dementia run in families?
Yes, because families, genetic is one thing, but also lifestyle is another.
Okay.
Right? We tend to do the same things that our parents have done. So therefore, it's a two-edged sword in terms of both genetics and also lifestyle.
Okay. So let's say that somebody is listening to this podcast and they're thinking, how can I know if somebody I love, a parent or somebody that I love, how can I know that they are in the on stages of dementia? What are some of the symptoms that I can pick up on?
Yeah. Basically, you'll see on first their inability to complete their activities of daily living.
Okay.
And
For
which
example,
is what we call ADLs. And they can't do it without supervision. And also usually there's another group called instrumental activity of daily living. Is they're usually that's what's first affected. And they're not able to manage their home.
Okay.
The home is messy. It looks like they're hoarding, but the fact is they just never finish any task. Their financial affairs are a mess. Unpaid bill, turn off notices. They shop, or if they continue to drive, they have duplicates of everything, right, in the cupboard because they forgot that they've purchased something. Or they fail to organize groceries, or you'll find a can of beans maybe in the bathroom, right? Putting things away. It's so transportation, they get lost. They get lost. I had a friend, a family member. They live in Fort Lauderdale, and they ended up in Key West in Florida. But because they kept driving, they forgot how to get home.
And families typically, especially a lot of people who want to age in place, when, can you speak to the fact that when these symptoms starts developing, the parent or the person may resist, a change in environment. So if you start picking up on these symptoms or signs, what do you do?
You really have to start a conversation. The elderly are very resistant because they've been around for a long time. They've been doing things the same way for a long time, and they still look at you, the child, as their child, right? Sometimes they're not really responsive to your want of, to assist them, and that it's sometimes maybe it's time to bring somebody in, but first have a conversation. In my years of work, I found that a lot of children do not know their parents. It's really interesting because when you ask, well, what's mom's pattern, what's dad's pattern, they're like, I don't know, because of course they've grown, they've left home for a long time. Mom and dad have been managing fine, or it's a distant aunt who's now they're responsible for. They have no idea what their lifestyle is, their wants, their likes. So having that conversation, but do make an effort to get to know them, or have them write things down. I've started doing that for my kids. Yeah.
And then you said have the conversation and then bring somebody in. Consider bringing somebody in. Who would that be?
Okay. In my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
uh, most families, being that I wasn't a home care agency owner, most family would call our agency for assistance.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, they needed more help than that,
Mm.
right? They really need somebody who can organize this whole system for them. What to expect? What could possibly happen? Okay, so that's where planning becomes incredibly powerful. So preparation isn't about just assuming dementia will happen, even if they see what's going on. Maybe it's just something temporary, but it's about protecting their independence early on, right? So, which means you start with financial planning, right, for long-term care. The legal documents like powers of attorney and advance directives. You have to understand the legal portion is really important because once the person is diagnosed, then they're unable to make decisions.
Right.
So we have to think about that.
Right. And I've heard that a lot where like, even before, even if there's nothing going on, it's important for, children of elder parents to really think about that legal angle of things because, if the documents are not in place and God forbid something happens, then now you get into, a legal nightmare because you don't have the authority to make certain decisions on behalf of your own parents.
Correct.
So I've heard that a few times already on this podcast. So now this is a good segue to two events that are happening soon. We have Mother's Day coming. We have Father's Day coming. What should families look for?
Many of the signs that I mentioned above before, which means just chaos, messiness, odor, right? Being disheveled, thinking that they showered or they bathed, they didn't.
Right.
With Mother's Day and Father's Day, usually families saw each other maybe 6 months ago during the high holidays, right? Maybe there's some weight loss, incontinence, personality changes. Yeah.
And how about, people who are unmarried or without children? How do they navigate this?
We do have a group called Solo Agers right now. And it's really they are relying on neighbors. So it's really important. If you have a neighbor who is alone, reach out. Yeah.
Can you say that again? Because I think we underestimate, how important this is, because there's also demographic data that shows, for example, you have, it's a fact that men die early than the women, and so you have a lot of elderly women living alone independently, and if nobody's checking up on them and these things are happening, you wouldn't know. So can you speak again to the fact that it is important for people to, at least if you know that you have an elderly neighbor that lives alone, that you are checking up on that person. If patterns are shifting or you're noticing something that's out of the ordinary, that you realize that it's more than just that, they may not want to be bothered. It's just something else may be going on.
Yes. It's really important that neighbors or even long families, distance family, right? A cousin. Check on your cousin,
right?
Check nephews, check on your auntie, right? Call them, see what's going on. But again, neighbors and employees of other institutions, for example, banks, right? Because the elderly, especially solo agers, are very vulnerable to fraud and abuse. So if someone's working at a bank and they're seeing unusual activities in a person's account, it's really time to alert someone.
Right.
So
Right.
it's really, we have to have a community approach to
Right.
caring for our elders.
No, I totally agree. And that's a good segue to now focusing on, you know, care management in your world. So what does a care manager do when working with somebody with dementia?
Well, care management is, we're here to navigate the entire healthcare system for the public. Okay. Essentially, we're a central hub of support. We access the person holistic. We have a holistic approach. We look at their medical needs. We look at their cognitive status, their home safety. We look at their social support. We look at their long-term risk, okay, and then create a coordinated plan.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, you implement and adjust care over time, because it's not a one size fits all at this present time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because people age gradually.
Mm-hmm.
And changes occur over time. So I coordinate personally, and most care managers, we coordinate with physicians with the different specialties, because a lot of people have their primary care physician. They may have a neurologist. They may have a rheumatologist. They may have a pain management person. Basically, and none of these people talk to each other. Right. So the care manager just brings all of the players. It's not unusual for someone to have different medications from different sources. So that's the role of the care manager. We manage the medications and, of course, any care transitions. If from home, from other localities, we help families understand what to expect next. Because we've seen it over time, and also preventing crises like hospitalizations or any unsafe living situation. That's the role of a care manager.
Right. So then it brings the question, picking the right care manager is critical. So what should one look for when trying to hire a care manager?
Well, you have to get along with the person, right? You have to have a level of ease with the person, because this is such a personal situation. And then, of course, you have to look for expertise.
Yeah.
The person has to have some experience navigating through the medical system. It's also helpful if the person has a degree of medical knowledge, not just social knowledge, because you do have to understand whether medication is necessary or not. For example, when I manage a home care agency, and like I said, I was doing this work, pro bono, you could say, I would go in and explain whether or not the medication was necessary. I'll say, well, give your physician a call and find out. And usually they would eliminate, because people can easily have like 11 to 12 medications, and would eliminate 3 or 4 of them. That would actually pay for itself, right? In terms, So having a medical background. It's important that the advocate becomes an advocate and a translator, someone who can take the complex medical and system information and make it really actionable for the family.
No, that makes sense. And so, how is your approach different in terms of how you handle from what other organizations are providing in this space?
Yeah, well, because I have such a breadth of experience, right? So I have both clinical depth and a world practicality. So I've been on both sides, more or less, with families, both in the hospital situation, in a long-term care situation, in a home situation, and like I worked as a nurse, as an administrator, so I understand not just what should happen in healthcare, but what actually happens, because
Right.
it's two different
Right.
things,
Right. 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 Right.
I know systems breakdowns because I was a quality manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know how to navigate around these gaps.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. And I focus really on personalization.
Right.
It's a personal service.
Yeah. So now let's talk about your business now, what you do now. Can you just tell us in plain language what you do, who you help, and how you help them?
Well, families basically call me. They call, this is the situation. We are facing this. Well, I'll give you a plain example. We have a solo ager. He is only 72 years old, and he's never left home. He took care of his mom and dad. He worked, but now that family has passed and he's aged himself, and at 72, and has the Parkinson's-like dementia. Yeah. He also has visual issues. And his cousin actually called me from out of town and asked to help. Right, and asked to help, and they also engaged two neighbors from his neighborhood, his next door neighbor, who became his power of attorney. And the neighbor has her own issues, right? She's jailing herself, she's babysitting her grandson, and now she has to take care of this gentleman. And my role is to go in and assist in looking at his medical issues, look at his finances, and deciding on exactly how we're going to position him now, currently, maybe just staying at home, and then eventually moving him through the transitions of care.
Yeah. So just so that to build on that, can you give me like 3 or 4 situations where somebody will call you in addition to what you just told us, so that people will have kind of a breadth of the services that you're providing? Because when it comes to dementia, you had talked about how it is so many things are lumped into that, and for us, we just see a symptom or we see a behavior, and then we know we need help. So can you give us a few scenarios of what people call you for, so that we can put them in categories, and then our audience can really understand the help that you provide?
Yes. Well, the first, we need the family to acknowledge that it's their situation is complex. We have sons who are dealing with mothers. I've had a son she was this brilliant woman. She was an accountant. She was a bookkeeper and accountant, worked her entire life, was sharp as a tack. All it took is for her to fall and hit her head, right? Which is a traumatic brain injury.
Right.
And she was never the same. So the son had to quit his job, right? Quit his job to take care of his mom full time. Okay. This is someone who's basically almost at the height of his career.
Right.
Okay. To take care of his mom. And he needed help, obviously. Right? Who am I going to hire? Who's going to take care of mom? So I needed to go in and put all the pieces into place and help him decide, because it's such an emotional time.
Right.
Yeah.
So does that also mean that in the case like that you're also recommending hiring a home, somebody coming in to support daily activities? Does that include part of what you're coordinating?
I can do that. Yes. Okay. I can do that. If there's not enough family members to carry the weight, yes, I can do that. Yes.
So you're coming in and assessing the situation, and then determining what course of action is going to, based on what you see, is going to help this person be able to pretty much, what is the outcome? Live comfortably, live functioning. What is the outcome you're trying to achieve?
Yes. And that's exactly what I help family members and neighbors or friends determine. What is the goal of care?
Okay, goal of care.
Yeah, what is the goal of care? What is the best for this particular person?
Mm-hmm.
It's not one size fits all.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So the last question I'm going to ask you is how we can reach you. But before I do that, is there any question I haven't asked you? Is there anything you wanted to talk about? Anything on your mind you wanted to share with our audience that I haven't asked you yet?
Yes. I just want to reassure families they don't have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And that they actually need the right guidance. Having one conversation with someone like me or with a care manager can bring clarity. Right. And from there, we can break things down into manageable steps, which is really key. Right. What needs attention now? What can wait? And how can we build a plan moving forward? It's very important that families recognize that. Yeah. So basically, the first step for families to reach out for a conversation. Right. I offer an initial consultation where we can talk through what the situation is, identify what the immediate concerns are, and outline what support might look like.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the big thing I have learned today is that, you know, from the service that you provide, the key question is, what is the goal of care? Yeah. So that's what I'm going to remember. You know, what's the goal of care? And I think a lot of families are struggling because they don't know there's so many things coming from different places. And to have somebody like you come in and help them figure that out is such a big help. So how can we reach you? How can we reach you for your services?
Well, right now, I'm really recommending that people reach me via email. And I'll tell you why, Kwame, is because just the act of sitting at the computer or even on their phone and thinking things through, what's going on, and typing through, this is the situation I'm having with my mom, this is the situation with my dad, will start giving the person just some clarity or having them slow down for a little bit. Okay. So they can reflect on, okay, how do I want to use this woman's talent in helping me? Right.
Now, one thing that I forgot to mention, is there a particular area that you cover, particular states? Do you do remote consultation? How does that work?
I do remote consultation. I prefer to practice in areas where I can travel to if necessary. Okay. Yeah, because I do like sometimes do just eyeball. Right. Because I can see certain things that families do not see. You know, as a nurse. Yeah. Yeah.
So what states would that be? Where do you cover?
The immediate surrounding area, I would say definitely Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware. But I'm also open to any of the compact states. The compacts are states where nurses are able to practice without additional licensure. Because my approach is as a nurse consultant, as a nurse care manager. Yes, and I offer temporary help too. If somebody's in a crisis, you need something immediate, just email me real quickly. We'll get on a calendar, get on my calendar. We'll do a Zoom call and we'll talk really quickly. My website will be up. It's Guidance Care Management is the name of the company, the agency that we work with, and it's GCM Fix. The idea is to try to fix situations. So GCMFix.com. It'll be up shortly. We're just making some revisions to it.
Awesome. Easy enough. And your email?
Email is Gina@GCMFix.com.
Yeah, and all that information we provided in the show notes for this podcast. So is there any final words you want to part with?
Yes, I also like to encourage people to embrace some technology, because technology is becoming a very powerful ally in dementia care, especially in the people who are in the early stages. We have a lot of AI supportive tools that can track daily patterns, which is really important. You'll know when mom and dad, when they go to sleep, when they wake up, how often they're going to the bathroom, things like that. Are they taking their medications? Remind them about taking medication. It'll alert families about any changes that are taking place very early on, right? If they're falling. So the AI technology is progressive in helping us do that. Okay, so I always emphasize technology doesn't replace human care, but it actually enhances it.
Awesome.
So it's an extra layer of support, which is 24/7, where you, as a family member, you really can't be. Okay.
Awesome. No, this has been really good. Thank you, Gina, for joining the Retirement Navigator podcast. And hopefully we'll have a version 2 at some point. As technology and other things progresses, we may, bring you back for a second conversation to just see how the management of care is improving and progressing. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, absolutely. Please don't wait for a crisis to get help. The right guidance early on makes a world of difference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for spending part of your day with me today. I hope that you found this conversation with Gina very helpful. And I want to encourage you to consider subscribing to the Retirement Navigator podcast so that you would not miss a future episode. And if you want to go deeper on this conversation, consider joining our community on the school platform. It is the Benefits Insider community, where we go deeper on these topics. You get access to me to ask questions, your retirement questions on Social Security, disability, Medicare, Medicaid, and more. And until the next episode, remember that retirement is not the end of the road. It is a new season to navigate with clarity and confidence. I will see you next week on a new episode of the Retirement Navigator podcast. Thank you for watching.